Agioma and you're watching Witness. The author Charles Dickens created countless memorable child characters. Little Dorrit, David Copperfield and of course Oliver Twist, who all tugged at adult heartstrings and consciences. In Haiti, there's another Dickens crying out for our compassion. He's 14 and homeless. Dickens used to be what's known as a restavek, from the French words to stay with. It's a euphemism for slave. 10% of all children in Haiti are restaveks. The children are taken from poor rural families on the false promise of a better life in the city. Most are treated cruelly, starved and beaten by mistresses known as aunties. There is one woman who's not trying to exploit these children. Marlene Mondesir runs the Centre for Action and Development, each year rescuing dozens of children. Sandra Jordan caught up with Marlene and some of the restaveks in Haiti for her film, Stolen Children.
Haiti, this Caribbean nation, is the poorest country in the Americas. In the capital, Port-au-Prince, children are forced to work. Many are country kids, sent by their parents for a better chance in life. Here, they may get the opportunity to go to school. In return, they do menial work for the family they live with. They're known as restaveks. In Creole, it means staying with. There are an estimated 330,000 restaveks in Haiti. That's 1 in 10 children. This tradition may sound innocuous, but the restavek system is widely abused. Many of these children are little more than slaves. It's 5 in the morning. 2 young children are beginning their chores for the day. Cindy is 14 years old. She lives with her auntie Greta in the slum neighbourhood of Carrefour Fay. Cindy and her 10-year-old brother Clifford are restaveks. They make the 2-mile round trip for water 3 times a day.
We do the dishes. We make the bed. We sweep. We wash clothes. We bathe the children, put clothes on them. We watch them too so they don't go anywhere and so they don't get hurt.
Restavek is a dirty word here. Children like Cindy and Clifford are looked down on by other kids. Even in their own family, they are not equals. Not every restavek lives with blood relatives. Even so, they call the head of household auntie. In Cindy and Clifford's case, Greta is a real auntie, sister of their mother.
A restavek is a child who lives in someone else's house, and that auntie makes the child's life a misery. The auntie's children are allowed to hit the restavek, but she can't hit back. They can walk all over her, and she can't do anything about it. Whatever the children do to her, she's just got to accept it.
For Cindy, this means being constantly dragged away from her chores.
Cindy! Cindy! Clifford!
Come and tie my ribbons.
Cindy!
Teenage Cindy has to drop everything to attend to the needs of her 5-year-old cousin, Matilda. But pandering to the whims of the children is the least of Cindy's worries. Restaveks are at the mercy of their aunties.
Some of the aunties are cruel too.
In Haiti, it's normal to slap your children. For Greta, there's no shame in admitting she beats Cindy.
If she makes trouble, I hate her.
What does she do to get into trouble?
If she does something that isn't good, and I have already told her about it once, the second time I hit her. Give me that cup. I'm going to take a bath. Put a lid on that. I'm leaving the baby here for you to wash.
Under Greta's constant surveillance and the threat of physical punishment, Cindy and Clifford have to look after 7 people: auntie, uncle, and 5 cousins.
I came to this house when I was 4 years old, not even at school age. When I was 8 years old, I started washing the dishes. At 12, I started cooking.
Once Cindy has finished the cooking, it's time to get on with the sweeping. Next, time to wash 3-year-old Cuckoo. Then she serves breakfast. It's a typical day for a Restavek. Cooking, cleaning, washing children. After 4 hours without a break, Cindy tries to grab a few minutes for herself. There were scars on Cindy's arms. To us, they looked like bite marks, but she didn't want to talk about them. Before long, Auntie Greta came looking for her. There was more work to be done.
Yes.
Come along, you haven't fed the chickens.
There's little privacy here, and even less free time to rest. But Cindy and Clifford are lucky. Thousands of Restaveks are so brutally treated by their aunties that they run away and end up on the streets. Among the statues of the heroes who liberated Haiti from slavery live boys who have freed themselves from this modern form of slavery. Dickens is 14 and an orphan. When his parents died, he had no one to look after him. He was taken by a stranger to be her Restavek.
I always called her auntie. She made my life a misery. I saved myself.
How did she find you?
In the street. She said she would take me in and I said yes. She told me to go with her. Then she beat me.
Does she have a family too?
Yes.
How many children?
8. 9 was me.
But a life of freedom with the revolutionary heroes outside the presidential palace isn't without its risks. For many Restaveks, the choice is remain the property of an abusive family or take your chances on the streets. Dickens claims some children he'd known were executed by the police.
The police killed them. They didn't do anything. When they were sleeping, boom, they shot them.
The United Nations says every week a child is murdered in Port-au-Prince. In a country where most people live hand to mouth, there's no social welfare, and Restaveks are at the bottom of the pile. But in Cindy and Clifford's neighbourhood, there's a small shelter where Restaveks can come to relax, play and learn.
Who must protect the child? The state must protect the child too. That's important, children.
All of these children are Restaveks. Marlene Mondesir is the director of the Centre for Action for Development. She's one of the few grown-ups the children trust. There are 2,000 Restaveks in Marlene's area. Her dream is to send them all home. Her funds allow her to rescue just 70 of the most seriously abused.
These are Restavek children who deserve to be reunited with their biological families. All of these are children who deserve to be sent home.
Around 3/4 of Haiti's Restoveks are girls. Once they reach puberty, they are vulnerable to sexual abuse, and the urgency to get them out of bondage increases. Cindy and Clifford have been coming to the centre for 2 years, hoping their turn will come to be reunited with their mother. But even here, they're still not free of their Restovek duties. They've had to bring their little cousins along. Physical abuse is also a factor in deciding which children are sent home.
Look, for example, what happened at her auntie's house. She was whipped. It bruised her. There's a scar there. Was it a whip or a belt?
Electrical wire.
It's wire, like this.
Marlene has decided to send Cindy and Clifford back to their mother.
En tout cas, vendredi, si Dieu veut, n'a pas censé aller Jérémy, n'a pas mener nous Jérémy. Pas vrai?
On Friday, we're going to bring you to Jeremy. We're going to pay your school fees, and we're going to give your mom money to start a small business so she can afford to take care of you.
Bye, maman nous, une activité génératrice de revenus, juste pour qu'elle continue à prendre soin de nous.
How will you recognize your mother?
I remember how she is. She has almost the same face as I do.
It's Wednesday. Just 2 more days of drudgery, and Cindy and Clifford will no longer be Restoveks.
But will the children's mother take them back? We'll find out after the break.